We are hopeless, selfish creatures, and we need a savior.
She was a total heathen.
All right, we're doing a podcast.
Hey everyone, I'm Kate.
I'm Erica.
And I'm Renee.
And welcome to another episode of an ExMo.
And a NeverMo.
And an ExMo.
Walk into a bar.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of, do you guys remember that show from the 80s, the Newhart show? And
My favorite.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Those guys would show up. It was like, I don't even remember what the scene was, but these three guys would show up and the guy would introduce them and say, "Hi, I'm Larry. This is my brother Daryl. This is my other brother Daryl."
Yes. I know who Bob Newhart is.
You'll have to watch
I'll have to watch it.
This reminds me with the ExMo and NeverMo and an ExMo.
We'll do that action. Here we go. From here on out.
Let's do the rest of the show just like this, yeah?
Well, we're so happy to have Renee here. We're going to talk a little bit more about her. She was here the last two episodes that we've had, and we've invited her on for a third. And so we just wanted to let you know that we're here at Land of a Thousand Hills Coffee Shop, which we're usually at. Great drink. Amazing staff. We adore the people here. It's pretty awesome. We just want to remind you that the views that we express in this podcast do not in any way reflect the views of Land of a Thousand Hills or any place where we get a chance to film and record our episodes.
Yep, they're just ours.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to just say thank you to Renee for being here again. She was on the episode last week as a co-host, and she is actually a co-host again today. And she will be co-hosting periodically with us. We'll be swapping out the two ExMos. The NeverMo will stay put for now, but we'll be swapping them out for different episodes sometimes, depending on availability. And then the reasoning for that, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, the topic for today is mental health and Mormonism. And it's going to be kind of vulnerable here, I think. But I've kind of been struggling the last little while. And so I needed to take a break. And so I'm so thankful for Renee for stepping in when I wasn't able to.
And you did such a great job.
My pleasure. I mean, I've watched you guys and I followed you. And so, you know, when I was talking to Erica and she was telling me some of the things you were going through, it absolutely broke my heart.
Yeah.
So I'm so pleased to be here with you.
Well,
and of course with Erica back again. Yeah.
Well, thanks. So I kind of wanted to share a little bit of my experience of what's been going on because, and I know that it's not unique to me. I know, and I think all three of us know someone who has been affected by their mental health has been affected. Maybe not just because of Mormonism, but because of religion as a whole.
Yeah.
But because our experiences with Mormonism, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how this has affected me. Growing up, I was hardcore depressed. I mean, as a little girl, I just had a lot of depression. I was fourth of 6 kids. I felt like Jan Brady. So I was like,
sure,
Marsha. Yeah, his name's George Glass. I have a boyfriend named George Glass. You know, no, I never made that up. But my heart felt for Jan, although I know she was kind of like frustrated in her position as middle daughter, you know, and but my depression ran a lot deeper to the point where like I was the age of 14 when I went to my therapist for the first time. And this is great because I was in seminary at the time when my mom was going to pick me up and take me to this therapy appointment. I went to the seminary teacher and I said, "Hey, I've got a doctor's appointment to go to." And he was like visiting with a couple other kids. He's like, "Oh, it's not a psychiatrist appointment or anything, is it?" And everybody just laughed and laughed and laughed.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I was like, no, because this was in the 90s and mental health was a lot more stigmatized at the time. And so I just went into this appointment with so much dread. Like I'm broken. Like I am broken because I'm not happy. And I'm not happy because I'm a worthless piece of shit, because that was the messaging I got. I struggled for a long time and was diagnosed with ADHD when I was like a senior in high school. And that just compounded this feeling of like, oh my God, I'm just like, I'm so broken, you know? And I don't know that it's necessarily a church thing. I think it was a societal thing as well. But
I think there can be a lot of things going on for sure. I mean, I've struggled with depression throughout my life as well. And I have my own like trials and tribulations. I think living here and hearing from so many ex-Mormons, my observation is that had to play a factor because I've heard from so many people that you always get the messaging from the church that you are not enough, you're not good enough. And then that's compounded if you have a mental health issue, which I know you're going to talk about a little bit, that then you're not doing the things right? Like you're not reading your scripture. You're not righteous enough. You're not holy enough. And that just further entrenches you and invites you to take more of the poison of the thing that is hurting you. So I think obviously mental health issues happen for everybody. Like I said, I've never been Mormon. I have suffered from mental health issues. But I think the church plays a factor for a lot of people, and not all people either. Because we've talked a little bit to you, and you were in the church for a long time, and don't struggle in quite the same, and you're just made a little differently, and you have a different experience because you weren't in Utah.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to ask you. This was all in Utah. You grew up.
Yeah, I grew up in Utah.
So you grew up in this soup.
Yeah. In the cultural here.
Okay. Yeah. Because, I mean, I went to seminary too, but it was early morning seminary. It wasn't part of the school. Me and I had one girlfriend. We were the only Mormons in our high school.
Wow.
So there was no pressure there. We felt kind of unique and special on our own. So completely different environment. But to have that pressure of trying to seek for help, but then also I have to keep my depression a secret. I have to keep my cure a secret.
Yeah.
I mean, that is something that I think a lot of people don't understand.
And like medication, like, yes, it helps, but I was like, oh, no. I'm going to pray this away. Kind of like pray the gay away.
No.
Pray the depression away. Yeah. Pray your mental health issues and
You didn't get that
away.
Advice from the psychiatrist, did you?
No.
Okay, good.
No, it was just things that I had internalized.
Yes.
So even though the doctor was like, take this, I was like, okay. Oh, but I'm feeling better. Bye. That's kind of what I've been doing.
Because if you were really faithful, that would have done the trick.
Right.
Is prayer and faith.
So you must not be really faithful. You must be doing something wrong, I think, is part of the messaging.
Right.
And like, what's so troublesome about that? And what reinforces those bad feelings?
And anytime I would go to talk to someone with leadership, like my bishop or my stake president or something, the answer was pray more.
Are you reading your scriptures?
Are you reading your scriptures enough? Because the gospel is all about joy. In the Book of Mormon, Adam fell that man might be, and men are that they might have joy. And I was like, okay, but where is it? Where is it? Why isn't it coming? I'm doing all of the things. Like I am going to seminary. I'm reading my scriptures. And granted, I didn't do it all consistently. Like the ADHD was like, squirrel. Oh, damn it. I have this ADHD. So now I'm like even worse. And it was just really, really, really problematic there. And so it just exacerbated like the symptoms there.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that the church has changed its tactics. They will send people to get help, but often it's with the LDS family services.
Yes.
Oh, you said nod to that. What do you think about that, Renee?
Yeah, that's the problem, because even then you have a trained that you think is a trained therapist who will tell you, are you reading your scriptures? Are you praying?
Yes.
So, and a lot of times they really don't have the training that they need. Or you have the case of like Natasha Helfer, who is certified, trained, extremely expertise in her area, and legally cannot give the advice that the church therapists give, but then was held accountable for teaching against church principles that excommunicated.
I don't think Erica's as familiar with this. Do you want to share a little bit more?
So Natasha Helfer is a sex expert, and she has a family clinic, deals with a lot of sexual dysfunction and family relationships and things like that. And she was very vocal about saying, look, these are biological things that happen. Legally, I cannot say to my clients that masturbation is a sin or things like that. I cannot say that.
Good for her.
So,
and she was a member.
And she was a member. And she has a very long story. You should look her up. But even in the church mafia, even though she had moved out of state, her bishop in this state contacted the bishop in this state and said, we need to X this girl. And of course, they all deny it. They all deny that that's how it happened. But she was excommunicated because legally, as a therapist, she had to be open and honest about her mental health expertise. And so that's what makes you kind of look at people that are working for the church system and go, okay, what are you actually teaching? And what are you not teaching because of your church membership?
Yeah.
And that's what's scary. And they're being paid by the church as well. So the bishops will send people, and that's how they make their income, is from referrals from the ward.
And you think that this is a person that is totally unbiased and is going to help you in every way possible and be credible and adhere to standards.
But you think you can share because you guys have this church thing in common. So
But it sounds like borderline corrupt in some ways. If you have to, and it reminds me of what we heard from Sam Nieves when if you're going, he runs the Conversion Therapy Survivor Network, and it was the same thing. You'd go to get what he thought was therapy, but it was actually pray the gay away, because even though that's not rooted in any data or research that shows will help people, it will actually really, really damage them. That's what he was going to get because it was within the church and he was getting that kind of therapy instead. So very similar, like there are all these similarities.
And I was, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I remember talking to a woman and saying how much she loved her therapist who was a member of the church. And I said, well, how long have you been going to her? And she goes, oh, I've been going to her for years. And I remember even as a believing member going, well, in what other illness would you go to for years? At what point do you not feel like you've gotten the help that you need and let's move on? And so there's that connection is like, well, the church is paying me. And so I'm just going to keep these people coming every week. And, so there's that, like you said, it's a corporate takeover of the therapy community.
But she's not getting the actual help that she needs. If she's being told in some sort of, subversive way that what you actually need is more scripture, if that's part of what she's getting,
right,
she may never get better because that's not the appropriate help. That isn't what's going to fix her.
And it may even be that the therapist hasn't been telling her these things. I'm a huge advocate of therapy. I think, everyone could benefit from it. But it may not even be that the therapist is telling her to do this thing because the church is doing a good enough job teaching you the things that where I was in this position where like, when I was looking for therapists, I would be like, well, I can't see anybody who's not a member of the church because I have to have somebody who aligns with me spiritually and can help me. And so I went from a lot of therapists. I was on my mission, and that was probably one of the worst experiences for my mental health.
Yes.
Because you're there and they're like, you have to be exactly obedient all of the time, or else God's not going to bless you. And you're constantly comparing yourself to other missionaries. And oh my gosh, they've got so much more, so many more baptisms than I do. Right. They must be better missionaries than me. You're constantly comparing yourself. You're separated from your family. You're separated from home. You're homesick. You're not allowed to call your family. And it's just so much scrupulosity and having to be exactly perfect. And then the more perfect you are, the more you'll receive blessings from God. My first 9 months of my mission were hell. I sobbed like all the time. My poor companions were like, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm like, I just don't know. So I went to my mission president and I said, I am going through a really hard time. And he said, oh, it's no big deal. Elder so-and-so, he's got depression. Elder so-and-so, oh, he's depressed. Elder so-and-so, they've all got depression. Like, which was so not invalidating for one, and like I would hate to be elder so-and-so.
Confidentiality problem here.
Because like elder so-and-so didn't want to let everybody know that he was depressed, but suddenly I'm like, me, depression, it was. So now that I know mission presidents, I'm like, sister so-and-so is now,
Which is why therapists are licensed and go through rigorous training.
Yes.
Because they know that is entirely inappropriate and illegal to share information like that. You will lose your license and you cannot practice if you divulge information outside of someone who is in immediate danger or putting other people in immediate danger. Like that is bonkers.
And so not okay.
And gives another example of how these people that are put in positions of authority do not actually have the training to be counseling people, supervising people. It's like, what did you do before you were made mission president? Oh, I was a plumber. I owned a rug store or whatever. You're like,
you don't know what you're doing.
You have no idea.
You don't know what you're doing, but we'll give you 2 weeks training and then send you off to Texas or France.
And it's not going to be about mental health. So on this mission, and we're going to have a whole episode on missions later on.
It's going to be fun.
It'll be good. But on this mission, I begged my mission president to let me go home. I begged. Like, I can't do this. This is too hard. No, you'll be okay.
Isn't You're not funny going that home. You had to ask to be released?
Yes. I had to beg.
May I be given probation? for my prison sentence.
Go home.
Yeah.
And you're a free
instead of saying,
human.
I'm going home,
Uh-huh.
you know.
You're not in the military.
No.
You're not
Yes,
in jail.
exactly.
You are a free agent, and you should be able to, when you say, this is what I want to do, any other human, if I take a job, which this isn't even a job, and we'll get all into the ins and outs of this.
Yeah.
But if I take a job or I commit to something, if I get there and I go, whoa, this is not what I thought it was going to be, unless it's the military or jail.
Right.
Yeah.
You can leave as
quit.
a free human.
Yeah.
And we're essentially telling you, which just is clicking in my head right now, that you're not free. You're not a free human.
And I've heard stories of parents that have actually had to fly into the mission area and say, we're taking our son home. And even then the bishop was like, or the mission president was like, no, you're not. And it's like, because it looks bad on them.
It does look bad on them.
You know, their numbers go down. Their chances of becoming a general authority go down if all of their missionaries are leaving.
Right.
So they do everything they can to keep you there.
So I guess I essentially was kidnapped, being all of these miles. I was in Florida. I served my mission in Fort Lauderdale.
Well, that's why you were depressed right there. I mean, if you've ever
you've
been to Florida, it is humid and there are large bugs there.
But there's so much sunshine, but you're not allowed to go on the beach to enjoy it.
White sand.
And it was, but you can't enjoy any of that.
No, only kidding. I like Florida. I spent a year there myself. Yeah.
So, but fortunately, I did get some help.
Oh,
I
that's
did.
good.
They did
They
send
did
me
finally,
to. Well, they sent me to LDS Family Services.
Yeah.
And I had to do a shit ton of work, like soul searching and yes, praying and reading the scriptures, doing those things, but also got on medication and got that help. And I got a companion. And if she ever watches this, I just need to thank her. I've actually reached out to her in the last few years.
Companions make all the difference.
It made a huge difference. So the first few ones were really hard because they just didn't have any empathy. They didn't know how, because the church doesn't teach the first thing about empathy.
No.
So
Interesting.
Stiff upper lip. Come on, you got this.
Yeah.
But I had a companion about halfway through my mission where I was like, I'm just going through such a hard time. She's like, yeah, I get that. That must be hard. And I was like, I need to go running right now because I have so much pent up anxiety. Okay, that's fine. You go run. Do what you got to do. Like, she was just so laid back and even healed and just didn't see me as a problem that needed to be fixed.
Interesting.
For the first time.
Right.
And I blossomed after that. So thank you, Sister Spooner. Thank you. You
how did she know? How did she know to be that empathetic?
I think that's just who she was.
Oh.
I think that was just who she was.
Yeah, that's so great.
I am just deeply, deeply grateful for her for helping me in that. But I wouldn't have received that from most of the members of the church who are taught that empathy, like a lot of Christian nationalists these days, that empathy is a sin and
a weakness.
It's a weakness.
Well, there again, too, I don't think people understand that these missions are hugely competitive. Mm-hmm. And so, you are dragging Sister so-and-so down.
Yeah.
Because Sister so-and-so has goals.
Yeah.
And, the sister missionaries, they can't be district leaders or anything like that, but they can be put in positions of something, whatever, And so that's so prevalent in the church is you're bringing me down because my goal is to be a general authority and I haven't been called to be a bishop yet. And you're stopping me because I'm pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And you're stopping me from getting on the next rung of the ladder. That's so prevalent in these prosperity gospels. Yeah. So it's not just Mormonism. It's a lot of the prosperity gospels. Sure. But because there are this lay community in so many different areas versus just going to a nice, with the flannel guy and the jeans and the baseball cap, so finally you found someone that it wasn't about her.
Yeah.
It wasn't about her.
Which is so much more Jesus-y and good and pure of heart. Like those like goals. And I don't care. I'm going to, I'll
the
step
Book of
on
Mormon
you to get where I am.
Musical, blah, blah, blah. But it's about me. And that's the song. But it's about mostly me. And they got it. They got it because that's where you're at.
Oh, that musical is so good. I'm low-key obsessed with it.
I know.
I'm just going to share
the music is so great.
I'll go on one.
Yes.
I get one.
You get one out of good. Right. You're done after this.
Here we go.
The first time I heard it after I was working in Mormon Central, I actually was a little shook. Like I was like low-key triggered. I don't like to, it wasn't actually triggered. Triggered is a medical term that means a specific thing. But I heard it and I was using it for a promo for when we were launching the podcast. And it was the end when they go, the Book of Mormon. And I was like, It put me like,
that was a trigger.
yeah, well, because where I was, one of the things that was like tricky for me and my mental health, and we'll talk a little bit about that later too, working as a Never Mormon and Mormon Central in Utah Valley, was this there was weirdness of and the way that they talk in the Book of Mormon, and everything is like they're singing, but it's this very sheen, fake, saccharine. But one of the women that I worked with, she always talked like this, and everything was
like,
wonderful. And she would, like, things would be like really crazy.
You're like, do you have a battery place?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So when I heard the music, I was like, oh, that's it. But now I'm like, I just find it sort of amusing, which is a little bit sad, because I think that like the saccharine, gee willikers, is masking some stuff underneath.
Yeah.
And that was tricky for me to navigate and be there. That was one of the, like, being around people who always talk like this, which for me was always like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I always just felt like, this
it's like
feels
you compare
bananas.
it, you know, you like, that's what I said to my husband. I said, because he's like, everybody's so nice here. And I'm like, I know. And sometimes it's just really like, stop it. Just stop it. I want to go to New York where people are like, whatever, I don't know where it is. You know, thank you. You know? But but it is exhausting. But that is amazing. So you were able to complete your mission happily, kind of.
No, I was actually
that's
in a
fabulous.
really, really good place.
Okay.
And then was told that I was too much, because I was really, really happy. And I found a friend like right after out of my mission. I'm like,
your medication was
happy.
Your medication was too good.
I don't know what it was, but I was really, really, really happy. And like, no, you need to calm down. You're never gonna find a partner unless you calm down. So part of this
marriage partner?
Yeah.
Oh no, you were too much.
I was too much. And so I was told that I needed to calm down.
Oh no.
It all makes sense now, because in the beginning of May, I was diagnosed bipolar when I had no idea until I got that medication, that diagnosis. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. That makes so much sense, because I have been on
highs and lows,
this roller coaster my whole, and not because everybody has highs and lows, but not like highs and lows, right?
Yeah.
So when I got that diagnosis, I think that kind of, that was one thing that kind of sent me spiraling, you know,
the diagnosis.
Yes, because there were a couple of things. The first was when I first heard it, I was like, oh good. I'm so relieved, because now I have like a condition that you know
what to work with. Yeah.
But part of me was also like, well, damn it, why didn't they give me this diagnosis like 25 years ago?
Oh.
Like, that could have saved me so much heartache and trauma had I had tools. And then the third was like, oh, this is so much worse. Like, depression's one thing. And now, this makes me so, this is just the inner stuff in my mind going on here. But now like, oh, I thought I was broken before, but now I'm really broken.
Yeah.
And I know people will often say like, oh my God, that's so bipolar. And I would even say stuff like that. And I'm looking back and thinking, Kate, that's not okay, because it was hard. And then just a couple of other things, like with work. And I know you were going to talk about your work experience, but working in a place where I felt like there was just no empathy. And I don't want to burn any bridges to the ground here. So if there are people who I worked with that are watching this at some point, I want you to know that like what works for you works for you. It did not work for me.
Yeah.
Like, this location could be great. Everybody's different. Everyone's unique. We all got our strengths. We got our weaknesses. This place did not work for me, but I had to white knuckle my way through it, damn it, because that's what you do. You endure to the end.
Yeah.
You endure to the end, and you white knuckle your way through the difficult times. Hold to the rod or hold to the job or whatever the situation was. And it wasn't until I quit 2 weeks ago, I felt this huge weight lifted off of me. I feel like I'm a new person.
The fact that you could quit, that you knew this is not a good place for me, says a lot.
Well, but it was either that or go further.
But you recognize that. But also, I'm glad that you pointed that out, because even though therapy has become way more accepted in this day and age in 2025, people, celebrities talk about it. Everyone talks about it now. There's still a stigma where if you would have said, I was just diagnosed with breast cancer, people would be like, oh my gosh, what can we do to help? How are you feeling? Can I bring you dinner? But then you say, I was just diagnosed as bipolar. And like, yeah, I knew you were crazy. Yikes.
Exactly.
Exactly. So there's still a stigma behind mental illness that is, I think we still have a long ways to go.
Which is wild, because your brain is a part of your body.
It's
like
everything.
it's not separate. It is a part of your
Mhm.
body, and a lot of it is purely chemical. Some of it is rooted in trauma and other things, but even that changes like trauma changes the structure of your brain. It's a physical thing. Like our mental health is physical health. It's just it comes out in different ways.
I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Amen, but he's one of the few doctors that said, why is it that every other physician, no matter every other part of your body, uses CAT scans, MRIs, X-rays, but except the brain? He's the only, he started this whole research thing where he MRIs your brain, and then he shows that this is a mentally ill, this is a depressed person, this is a bipolar person. And he shows the actual physical differences in your brain. And so he's one of the few doctors that acknowledges that.
And I have seen a lot of different brain scans that can be done. And I've seen online like the pictures of this is a neurotypical brain, this is a neurodivergent brain. I know there's different. I'm also a big believer in, I don't want to use this as a crutch and saying that this is, well, I just can't do anything about it. This is just who I am. It's really focusing on that serenity prayer, like what I have control over, focusing on what I can control, recognizing what I can't control and having that wisdom to know the difference between the two. So as I have this diagnosis, I can't control that. That's completely outside my control. The past, the things that kind of like led me to that, and even my past in the church, and a lot of the things that we're going to talk about in just a minute here. But it is focusing on what you can control, what you can't control, knowing the difference. And so, so we are going to talk a little bit today about the things that are outside of our control, and then hoping we can all find the tools to help us with what is in our control and what we can do. So I found this article here. Everyone in Utah is not a member of the church, but we're going to talk about data of why depression is so high in Utah, because it is. It's like above the national average. But if you Google search it, like one of the first things will pop up is from the Desert News, and here's what it says. It's like, it says,
for our viewers who don't know what Desert News is, if you don't live here, so that is a church-run publication, church-run, church narrative here in Utah.
And a lot of people get like, we had Desert News, we never had Salt Lake Tribune because that was for the devil. So in this article, it says it was called "What 18 Years of Research Tells Us About the Mental Health of Latter-day Saints." So we're going to look at this first part. It says, research suggests that Latter-day Saints tend to have lower rates of substance abuse, depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation compared to the general population. We're going to say yes to some, yes to the part where it says that they have lower rates of substance use and abuse because it's against the word of wisdom, right? In Utah.
Except sugar.
They can
use all the sugar that they want, and boy, do they.
But as far as
I had to decide, should I get the Red Bull or the coffee? And Kevin's,
and you went with the devil juice.
Because you're an ex-Mormon, you were able to go with the coffee. Otherwise, the Red Bull would be totally fine. But they typically, oftentimes when I have this argument with members of the church, and I also had the same argument once upon a time, I would say, and we have higher like medication rates of Prozac and antidepressants because we don't self-medicate. A lot of people will self-medicate with illegal drugs.
I see.
Sorry. Yeah, I say that differently.
Self-medicating through alcohol and substances
because people
because of the word of wisdom, so they use medically for
there's
prescriptions.
Let's just say a higher rate of antidepressants.
I see.
And Utah, I think, is the highest, right? Which is so. I lived in the other Alaska is up there as well, and actually, I think it's the highest suicide rate for a lot of reasons. It's because it's dark. There's a huge indigenous population that has been obviously treated terribly in Alaska, and the darkness, and then so there are a lot of factors that go into that, but Utah is number one for antidepressant use, and there's no real getting around that.
But I've always wondered, like in this church, that the only thing that they have to promise you is joy. That's all they promise you.
That's your goal.
That's
which is great.
If
it worked, and it doesn't work.
But you know what's funny though? I did a search, and someone will correct me, I'm sure. But I did a Google search. Which state has the highest number of DUIs? Utah.
For real?
Yeah.
That may actually be because in others, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know here it's like
Because
0.02
the
or something.
yes,
If
the
you
volume.
have,
Yes.
if you go like this, you
If
go
you
drive,
drink
you're gonna get a
kombucha,
DUI.
if you
Right.
drink a kombucha, you could blow for
Yeah,
a
for
DUI.
real.
But I
It's-
also think it's because the people have to keep it secret.
Yeah.
And so they can't say to their
Yeah.
friends, look, I can't drive.
Uh-huh.
I need someone to drive me home, because then they would have to admit, it's kind of like birth control. Then
Yeah.
you have to admit that you've been drinking. So you're just like, no, I'm fine. See you guys later. And then you get in the car and they're like,
Right.
But I think you're right. It's because a kombucha will you'll blow a DUI.
It's so much lower here. I think it's like 0.08 in
Which
other
is
states.
hilarious.
It's like 0.04 or 06 or something. So it's definitely lower.
I was a big
nuts.
kombucha drinker. Someone, called me out on it before I left the church. They're like, do you
For
know
real?
that it has alcohol in it? I'm like, yeah.
And
It's not in the word of wisdom. So,
Yeah.
it
So-
doesn't say kombucha.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good
And
for
there's
you.
like the amount of, it would, I don't think you would actually
like
blow if you drank
0.05% or something like that. It's not even
Yeah.
5. It's not even
You would
that
have to
much.
drink
3.
like 20
They
to
did
get
they did
mild
have,
buzz.
different designated. They did have to start putting a purple cap on the one that had a little bit more alcohol in it, because it's fermented.
But you can
It's
still
just a
buy it.
fermented drink. And I think the pressure again
Mhm.
to be perfect, to be beautiful, and have a beautiful home, and have beautiful children all dressed in the Gap with a bow bigger than their heads.
Yeah.
All of that causes major depression.
And also
Right.
to fit
Yeah.
into certain boxes. And,
Yes.
I think, I don't, so I can only speak from sort of the woman's perspective. And
Yes.
I know Jamie, who was our guest last week, who was assigned male at birth and is a trans person and transitioned and is a female now,
Uh-huh.
talked about, men in the church feeling, really elevated, like they have everything going on, and they're sort of they're given accolades and glory, but women are put into, and I'm sure this is true to some extent for men, but women are put into a box. You have to do this. You cannot pursue a career.
Yeah.
Maybe later, maybe, but that's kind of selfish. You need to get married when you are 18. You need to be popping out babies when you're 20, and that is your sole worth and value. And that is great if that's what you want to do. But if you want to do anything else, and I know some people like that who maybe would have wanted to do something else, to have a voice and to succeed in other ways, and that wasn't a good fit for them, but they're mush into this role.
It's prescribed for
And
them.
the pressure that men have, though, I will say, in men's defense, the pressure that they do have is that ladder of authority. So if you reach a certain age and you haven't been an elders quorum president or called as a bishop, people start looking at you like, so you're the nursery choir leader and you're 47? What's wrong with you that you haven't been called to be a bishop, or you haven't been in a stake presidency and now you're 60? Like, must be, I don't know. Do you have a couple recommend?
Your worth
So the men have that too, that positions of authority. And, you'll hear people, speaking of a lot of ex-Mormons that are in positions of authority now, they'll say, well, so-and-so was a bishop. It's like, yeah, because you were in the middle of Ohio and there was nobody else to call, but that gives them this, they can say, I was 29 and I was a bishop, so that's what the men, that's the role that the men.
So the trick is move to Ohio.
You're
all set.
Absolutely. That'll
But
solve
here in
all your
Utah,
problems,
the
but
competition is that much
Oh
higher.
my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you've got guys that are, in their work, they have positions of authority. So automatically they're going to be put into church positions of authority. The guy's a doctor. Duh. Of course he should be a fabulous bishop. Well, he had the communication skills of this, but he's a doctor. So, he must be, will make him a great bishop, know? So yeah, it's so complicated. It
is. And it all affects like depression, where here in this article, it said like, we have a lower rate. Bullshit is what I call bullshit.
No.
Because looking at this on the idea of like suicidality or suicide rates here in Utah, the rate in Utah is much higher than the national average. But in all races in the state of Utah, the suicide rate was that much higher.
Interesting.
Which is quite tragic.
And not reported by Deseret News.
Not reported, right? And according to Mental Health America in 2024, Utah was ranked 46 in quality mental health for U.S. adults. 46 out of 50.
Average.
Very below average, right?
Yeah, I mean, at the very tail end of almost at the almost the worst.
So again, this is correlation, not causation. We're not going to say that this was all caused by the church, but I will throw in my own 2 cents. It's because of the culture in Utah, which negatively affects not only members, but also non-members, ex-Mormons that don't fit into a certain mold.
Yeah. Of course, like we're not doing the research. We can't say whether it's causation or correlation. I can say, I've mentioned this before. I worked for 3 years in Mormon Central, and everyone who is not Mormon struggled there. And when we would talk about it, I think I probably took it just because of the way that I am a little bit harder than some other people. But we would get together and be like things just did not make sense to us. Things would happen. People would say things, and we, we'd have these like DEI meetings, and then they would say something blatantly racist or sexist, and we'd be like, you don't, and but they wouldn't even they didn't have the understanding to understand that they were saying something like that. So for me, at the end of the 3 years before, and I also like your job actually, and I just made the connection when you were talking about it today. I had to quit. And I talked about it a lot with my husband, and he begged me. He was like, you are not doing okay. Like, you need to leave this organization. I quit for my own mental health. But at the end, about 10 months before I left this job, I took 1 week off. I got a note from my therapist. And I had a bunch of health issues at the time. I have psoriasis, which is like a skin thing, but I had skin was falling off my eyelids, which had never happened before. Like, I could peel the skin, like I was covered in psoriasis. I lost hearing in one of my ears for a couple of weeks. And I had insomnia. I had an ulcer diagnosed. It was bananas. And it was because the environment was not functional. And when I took the week off, I sort of took some time for myself. I was reading, cleaning the house, doing yoga. And I went to one hot yoga session. And in the middle of it, it was a really intense yoga session. Everyone was struggling in this class, but I was like, I'm going to throw up. And I got up and walked out the door. And the woman on the other side said, are you okay? And as I walked out, I said, I think I'm going to, and I thought I was going to say throw up. And then I thought I was going to throw up. And then, but as I said it, I was like, I think I'm going to, and I lay down and sobbed, and she was like, are you okay? And for probably 20 minutes, like racked with sobs on this mat, like just thinking like, I cannot go back. I cannot go back to this organization. I can't deal with the things that don't make sense to me. I can't deal with the Utah nice, which is not nice at all. The way I was being ostracized by some Mormons and harassed, it was a fucking nightmare. And
could you put into words though? Did you know what it was at that time? Or were you confused because just like, I don't know what it is, but there's something, I mean, you know what I mean?
So I'll just say really quick, at first I was like, this cannot be happening. Like, the things were so bizarre. Like, we had a Christmas lunch. And we had it every year, and I would go, and our whole team would be invited. And that year, my boss did not invite me. I was the only person, like junior fucking high school, that was not invited to this lunch. I felt like Mean Girls.
Yes.
Yeah. I was the only person who did not get a Christmas gift from this woman.
Makes me so mad.
And then at graduation, I was at the director level. All the directors were invited to sit on the stage. I was humiliated. The only director in our group not invited to sit on the stage at graduation. So at the time I felt crazy because I was like, we're adults. Like, this cannot be. And I talked to my dad and be like, this, and he was like, no, this isn't happening. I'm like, it must be a mistake, but it kept happening. So there was that.
Did you get any kind of like, did you ask, why am I not there? Or why didn't you invite me?
No, I knew.
So
I knew.
You knew.
Yeah, I did know.
Oh my gosh.
And it wasn't only, I will just say this. It wasn't because I wasn't Mormon.
Yeah.
Because there were other not Mormons. It was because I wasn't behaving the way that they wanted me to behave. Keep your head down, say yes, never ask questions, never question authority, just shut the
Don't be authentic.
I'm not a shut the fuck up kind of person.
Okay.
Don't be yourself. You need to conform.
But that's, just the fact that you were doing your job as a leader was uncomfortable for them.
Yes.
Because women don't act like that.
Yes. And the leader of this in our like part of the organization led in this very way, very like very separate life. And I'll just say that. But my point in all this is I had this like little tiny touch point with Mormonism and having to try to function in it for 3 years, not as a Mormon. Wasn't I like I even joined it. It was just trying to function, and it fucked me up to the point where I had to quit my job and I had serious health consequences. And my husband was begging me. So that what to quit.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened to me with this tiny little touch point. I cannot think that there's not some causality there for some
and people. There is.
And like we've talked at length because we're good friends, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
If that was what it was like for me, good God, lady.
Yeah.
But you're doing great and you're thriving and like, I'm just supporting you and saying like,
and the fact that you took control, that's the thing that I love is that you took control. You got the diagnosis, you got the medication, you got a job, said this job is not working for my health. So that's the encouraging part is for people to take back their control,
which is hard to do when in this church you have no control. You're supposed to submit.
I don't know if you're familiar with Lynn Packer, but he was a journalist for the Salt Lake Tribune, taught journalism. It's excellent. And he wrote a book that brought down one of the general authorities because he revealed truth. And so he's followed Tim Ballard. He's followed a lot of things like that. But he wrote a little 30-minute YouTube about when the church decided to start teaching that your emotions were more important than the truth. And it was in 1954 that they literally changed the curriculum to start teaching that it's not knowledge, it's how do you feel? How does your heart feel? What is your testimony? Let's not talk about the critical thinking because that's not important.
No.
That's not faith, encouraging. You need to just let that go and talk about how you feel. And that was actually implemented. And all of the seminary, so when you're going to seminary and all of the institute teachers and anybody that had any kind of teaching doctrine, Sunday school, the church completely switched over and said, there's too much science. It's making people think critically. We can't not have that because if they start thinking critically, they'll find out truths that we cannot explain. So we will change it over to tell people, but how do you feel? And that's what you were running into because people would say, yes, Kate, but how do you feel in the church? When you come to church, do you get that little spiny hair raising feel when someone bears their testimony? That's the only truth you need.
When I'm manic,
sure. And that's the only medication you need is how
that's a secret.
Good you feel
all the time.
And so when you talk about causation, it's like, well,
yeah, there is.
But,
and since leaving the church, I don't know if this has happened to you too, Renee, but oftentimes I will say, yeah, I left the church no longer, but don't you remember how it made you feel?
Yes.
Don't you remember how it made you feel?
And that was indoctrinated.
And I'm like, well, it made me feel like shit.
Well, and
there were times that were good, but most of the time,
absolutely.
I was never
and
good
you have
enough.
built-in friends that are forced to be your friend. I mean, it's perfect. But I told my girlfriends the other day, I said, you guys, I have a story. I want you to be prepared. I have a little ring that I've lost. I've been looking for it for months, but I wasn't too worried about it because I knew that I had taken it off to work out and that it was either in my backpack or my purse. So I thought, but you know what? I found it the other day and I didn't pray and I didn't do a salt circle with crystals. I just found it.
Yeah.
And that's the difference as a member, even I remember going, okay, you couldn't find your contact lens, but you prayed and you found it near the gutter at the end of your driveway. But Elizabeth Smart was gone for,
Yeah.
So I think you might have a little confusion there, but it goes into the mental health of like what's going on right now where people, and you mentioned, and I wanted to say, because you mentioned this, not being allowed to break down, not being allowed to have a mental health crisis. And that falls into the grieving. You go to a Mormon funeral, people are practically high-fiving each other and throwing a party. Nobody wears black. Nobody's crying. everybody's like, "Oh, he's with Jesus.
Mhm.
Don't you feel great that he's
Yeah.
free from that sick body and he's happy with Jesus now? We should all be so happy," you know?
Yeah.
And that goes into the mental health because you're not allowed to not be happy.
Because
And you
if
have-
chance to meet a friend,
Yes.
do not let it
And what-
stay. Yeah,
What?
we'll teach you this song.
I knew
They
part of
turn
it,
upside
but
down.
I think I
Yeah.
made my second. I made up the second part of it, so that's why
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh, yeah.
I sing
Wait,
around the house.
that's
sometimes,
not the
but I think I
appropriate
made it
version.
up.
Yeah. No, but that
Uh-huh.
goes into mental health as well,
Yeah.
because man is that he may have joy, and that is what's taught. So if you're following the gospel principles, you will be happy.
And
No
you're
matter
not allowed
what
to not
happens.
be happy. When you mentioned the whole funeral thing,
Yeah.
my sisters passed away. I had two sisters that died back in it was like 27 years ago.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
in a car accident. And I recall at the funeral, like everyone was sad. And of course we were sad, but
Yeah.
then I have an older brother who had left the church years before. He broke down just sobbing. And everyone was kind of looking at him like, and I remember I hate this. I hate this so much about this. But I remember thinking it's because he doesn't believe that he's going to see them again.
Yes.
If he'd only had the same faith,
That's what I'm
then
talking
he
about.
would be happier. And then Richard Scott, who is a general authority, came and spoke at this funeral. And I'm grieving. I mean, because you're still grieving.
Sure.
You're
Yeah.
grieving. And he said over the pulpit, he said, don't talk about your sisters in the past tense because they're still very much alive. And I remember in the future thinking about my sisters and say like, oh, they were like, oh, wait, I'm supposed to, I can't say were. I've got to say they are. And I was so confused. And so I wasn't allowed to grieve.
But that's what the Christian mentality, not just Mormons, but Christianity in general is exactly, that's what they're doing with these little girls that were killed in Texas.
Yeah.
They put that picture up of them running happily, joyously, falling into the arms of Jesus. That's what these people need, instead of accepting the fact that this world is where we're at right now. And we need to do this world the best and the happiest that we can, because we don't know what's in the next life.
No, nobody does.
And so why not enjoy this life to the fullest extent?
But what does that do for the parents of those kids?
I know.
Like, stop being sad.
For some, it gives them that comfort. I mean, when my son passed away, I had people tell me that, he's not in that body. It's cerebral palsy, so he's not in that body anymore, and he's with Jesus. And I had left the church, so I was like, well, I don't think he is. And I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with not knowing.
Yeah. But it's gaslighting. The idea of gaslight came from a Victorian era play where the husband would say to the wife, like, that never happened.
That's
that
a
never
great
happened.
movie.
That never happened. Oh, is it a movie?
Oh,
too?
it's a movie. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to watch this.
Yeah.
But it never happened. And she was like, I am going crazy.
Yeah.
And we don't use the word crazy anymore, but like when we have those mental health challenges, it could be interpreted as just not being in a healthy mind, not in the right mind.
And I think women, especially in the church, because I did this myself, my husband's working 16 hours a day. I have 6 children, the oldest one is, just like his mother. Sorry, but genetically, I relate to you, dude. And my youngest had cerebral palsy and was severely disabled. So I've got 6 kids. My husband is not only working 16 hours a day, but then he's involved in church activities, so he's gone all the time. And I'm depressed. So I go to a therapist, I get on medication, and then it occurred to me that I said, wait a minute, why am I on medication? I am now silly happy, ridiculously happy. But the problem hasn't been solved. Instead of saying, dude, you have 6 children too. Not just me. You also have 6 children. Maybe you need to say no once in a while. I need some help. And I did medication before I would ever step out of my role and not support my husband in the role that he was given as a provider and as a priesthood authority. And so I quit taking the medication and said, yeah, I'm depressed because I'm doing this on my own and it's effing hard.
And you need to fix it.
And I need to solve the problem.
And you used medication as a tool to fix the problem.
Exactly.
Not because it's not the solution.
But it was a situational thing and not necessarily a physical thing. But I thought, well, maybe I need to be on medication. No. You're under stress. You're under, you're doing it all by yourself. And I think that's why you have, like I say, the highest amount of LDS women is because they're all by themselves, and they were told in the temple when they got married at 18, your sole purpose is to support your husband.
Yeah.
That's it, folks.
Yeah.
You have no other worth.
And that is why in the 1950s, a lot of women were medicated.
They were
with
alcoholics.
They were alcoholics and Valium. All
And
women
Valium.
prescribed Valium.
Yeah.
Or uppers, mommy's little helpers. So
Yes.
speed during the day so they could vacuum and clean the dishes and take care of kids.
Yeah.
And then Valium at night so they could zonk out.
Yes.
Or given lobotomies, a lot of them, which happened in the 50s and 60s as well. Because it was no one wanted to address the root
because
cause.
they did have large families and perfect homes and in a little waist like this and pearls and the whole bit. And the Mormon church never left that culture.
No, and they don't want to.
They don't want to. The church now, and it's interesting to see this when we're talking about 1954, how they changed the curriculum to be more of an emotional-based church. And now you see the church changing to be more of a Christian-based church. And so now you see like the new garments that they're talking about. So women are like, modesty? My shoulders aren't immodest. The church never taught us that.
We just talked about that yesterday. And the gaslighting. You never learned that because people go back and say, this is what I learned from the church. And church leadership is like, you're nuts. We never said that. Which is bananas.
Which it affects people's mental health.
In the church curriculum that comes from headquarters and goes out to the world, so everybody in the world is teaching the same Sunday school lesson. You study the Book of Mormon 1 year, the Doctrine and Covenants 1 year, the Old Testament 1 year, and the New Testament 1 year. So I didn't know any of the stories of the New Testament or the Old Testament because you only get it every 4 years, you know? So it's like, and they would be like, no matter what we're doing in Sunday school, even though we're doing the New Testament this year, you read the Book of Mormon first. Yeah. You always read the Book of Mormon. So this whole idea that we've always been about Jesus, it's like, no, we were about Jesus every 4 years. Okay.
Well, Jesus is in the Book of Mormon, but this much.
The part that's copied. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I know. I have a picture of Jesus. I got it at the bookstore. I get it. You know, it wasn't like they kicked Jesus out.
Right. No, Jesus is a part of it, but it's more about
the Book of Mormon and the prophets and those stories are what was the base. That was the foundation. Really but they have to let that go now because they painted themselves into a corner. And people are calling them out on it.
And people are saying you're not Christian.
That's right.
And they're like, we are. We absolutely
we always have been. Look, it says that in the name of our church, you know. So Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, I took pictures when I watched the reunion. They all had on crosses, you know. You know, they had on their little naked dresses and then they had a cross with their wine. They're like, I'm a member of the Mormon church. What are you talking about? I'm like, I'm so confused. You know,
and
so
the Orthodox members will say that they're not. Representing the church.
And they're like, there's more than one way to Mormon. I'm like, I don't know if that's true. But that's like saying there's more than one way to be Jewish. And it's like, yes, but that's because they have always been accepted as this is an Orthodox, this is the Hasidic, this is the, nationality, this is the, we still do, I still do this with my parents, but I don't do Shabbat every Friday, but I can still call myself. And that was accepted. That was never accepted in the Mormon church. No. So there can't be a correlation there. It's like, don't try to compare yourself to that.
You're right.
But yeah.
Along, though, with the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, in that same article from Deseret News, it said, studies also indicate a more positive body image and lower rates of eating disorders among Latter-day Saints.
Oh, that's so not true. That is so not true.
Because body positivity, my flabby ass. Because
you do not have a flabby ass.
I don't.
You are supposed to pop out 9 kids and be in a size 2 the next day.
And there's, sorry, go ahead.
Utah has the highest in the state, in the U.S., it has the highest per capita rate of plastic surgery facilities.
And that frustrates me because it's one thing to be biased. It's another thing to be out and out lie.
Yes.
To out and out lie in a newspaper that goes to homes and say, but I read it in the Deseret book. It's like, but it's a lie. And that's the scary part. I'm okay with we all have biases. Sure. I'm okay with that. But to literally come out and lie, especially with data, is scary.
Right. Well, and from an outsider's perspective, what I've heard, not just about body positivity in terms of like how you look or looking perfect, women struggle, especially women struggle with shame because they've been told, I mean, we posted a video, was it who's the guy who said you got your pornography ladies?
Oh, Dallin H.
Oh, Dallin Oaks,
Dallin-
walking pornography.
Yeah. Said that if women show their shoulders, they are walking pornography. So there's so much shame that goes along with that. And now being in the ex-Mormon groups, I see so many women, probably on a daily basis, post either I wore a tank top today, yay me, which is awesome, good for you. And they're like, and I felt so great about it. Or I tried and I ran home and I changed and I can't because they have so much shame. Or they're struggling with their daughter.
They were actually posting that. They tried to do the sleeveless thing and they couldn't.
Well, they're out now. They're not with the garments, but they've left, but they'll try to wear something like this. And they're like, so a lot of them are like, yay, I was never able to do this before.
Okay.
Some struggle, and then some struggle with their daughters. My daughter wants to wear this.
Yeah.
I don't want to make her feel this way.
Yeah.
But they're having this cognitive dissonance. I was told this is shameful and disgusting, and you're going to get raped and you're porn.
Babies.
Like, So there's not just around like body dysmorphia and feeling, good about the way your body looks, but also being ashamed of showing any part of it. Women are taught that their bodies are shameful and disgusting. And if you show them, you are pornography and you're going to get raped. And it is your fault if you incite any of those feelings in men. No responsibility for boys or men. It's all on women. And so I don't, women definitely have a lot of negative feelings about their bodies in this state.
The funniest thing about that whole talk with Dallin Oaks was people will still say, well, that was taken out of context. Wait, I got the video. People.
Or he was speaking as a man, not as a prophet.
And what's funny is the Persian societies that have these very strict burqa hijab rules have the highest rate of rape.
Yeah.
So that's the part where this isn't, it's control. It's not, it's not a body issue. It's a control issue.
And in communities where women are given more sexual agency, rape and sexual assault happen in far fewer instances.
Right.
And actually societies tend to do economically better. So there's like a negative correlation in every way with purity culture. It's bad for men. It's bad for women. It's bad for the economy. Yeah. And societies function better without this level of purity culture. And women are less likely to be attacked in non-purity culture. Yeah. It makes sense if you think about it, because like my dad was visiting this week and asked Kate, if a woman is he said, I know that Mormon women aren't allowed to show their shoulders. So if a Mormon sees a woman walking around and with her shoulders like me, are they just going to be titillated if a man and like, oh, that, like, is it like seeing a boob or something? And we didn't, I think we didn't know how to answer. And it was a question for you. And it's partly about control for sure. But then there is also, it's forbidden, it's this forbidden fruit.
And there's so exciting.
And then you have all these pent up people, men and women. Men generally do the attacking, women do too sometimes, but sexual assault tends to be perpetrated by men. But if they're not allowed to do any of the things that are normal of boys and men, in the spectrum of that.
Oh, yeah. Sexuality.
Of course. I mean, not of course. That doesn't, that sort of lets them off the hook. Or maybe it places the blame on the leadership, which is kind of making that happening because we are people, we're sexual people. And when you take that away, that, or you put restrictions on that results in some pretty negative consequences.
And when people feel better about themselves, their mental health improves too.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you have better, like I'm okay with who I am in my body, in my career, in my family, in my relationships. I have agency. I can choose whatever I want to do and I don't have to feel guilt about it. That's going to positively affect your mental health. But it has been all about control. Yeah. I do want to talk a little bit about the history of the church. And it correlates with what was taught in the whole US or in the world even. So back in the early to mid 20th century, mental health struggles were seen as spiritual weaknesses in your faith. I mean, read the Bible for crying out loud.
Possession.
Yes, that's a thing. And in the Bible time, like you'll read the stories of the possession in Jesus's day. And like he had to like throw out the demon into the swine who went running off the cliff because a mental illness was
demonic possession, and people believed this.
Because they didn't have any other way to explain it at the time.
That's exactly what religion has done. It's taken a phenomena that's unexplainable, and then they make stories about it. And so this is a story, and the church and all of Christian religions bought into this, right? That mental struggles were seen as spiritual weaknesses, needing faith to resolve it. And then in the 1980s and 90s, there was an emergence of clinical framing. Richard Scott, which I talked about, who was a general authority, dude was so depressed. I mean, just listen to any of his talks. Like he
Lorenzo
was so
Snow,
depressed.
One of the prophets. So depressed. Had to go down to St. George, try to get some sunshine.
Right. Lots of these people.
Depression.
I mean, I have family members. I have 2 ancestors that unalived themselves, that killed themselves, suicide, and they were stalwart members of the church. I mean, it happens a lot, like within the church, that promises joy, they don't deliver. But it wasn't until the 80s, like we had these general authorities coming out and talking about it. And then like 2003, 2004, like Richard Scott talked about it. And he's like, guess what? And it probably because he was so depressed himself. And he's like, well, I'm righteous, so I guess that can't be sin, so it must be something different. And also there were more studies at the time. So because mental health was in the early days seen as this mental weakness, I can also go back and see that Joseph Smith was probably depressed himself. Because you think of the Book of Mormon, and this is so telling as to where I was in my mental spot. But there was a scripture, it was 2 Nephi 4. It's called the Psalm of Nephi. And I'm going to read a couple of verses to you. So the story is that Nephi is the first prophet in the Book of Mormon. His family had sailed from Jerusalem to America, because that makes sense. And then and then his dad had just died. His brothers hated his guts. All of these things are going on. And he writes in the scripture things like, "O wretched man that I am, yea, my heart sorroweth because of my flesh, my soul grieveth because of mine iniquities. Wake my soul, no longer droop in sin. Rejoice, O my heart, and give place no more for the enemy of my soul." Nephi's depression, he was blaming it on darkness, on the enemy of his soul, which is the evil one.
There you go.
I look at this. Who wrote the Book of Mormon? Joseph Smith.
Right.
Did Joseph Smith deal with depression?
Probably.
But he didn't have the tools to equip him to deal with it, because this was in the 1800s and they didn't have that. And it was very much this idea. But that was my favorite chapter in the Book of Mormon, because I was like, oh, somebody knows what it's like.
And Nephi is
like Nephi.
Yeah. For the Never Mormons who don't know, Nephi is like the highest of the high.
Well, he was like the first prophet, and he was kicked out. I mean, he was a kick-ass prophet. So I look at that and I think that gave me hope. But it's so sad to me that like my favorite chapter was all about depression.
Yeah.
Because somebody related.
You feel validated.
It made me feel validated. So I do want to talk a little bit about this talk real quick. The Like a Broken Vessel.
I remember this talk.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Holland, of course, was my favorite.
It was everybody's favorite.
Because he's the only one that didn't talk in that stupid voice.
Yeah. End of quote.
Yeah.
Open quote and end of quote.
And he was always stern. He's like, he's going to call you out on it.
But he also had a little bit of a twinkle in his eye, right? So we'll watch some Jeffrey Holland and you'll be like, ugh. But anyway. So
I generally like that.
So in I remember the minute I heard this talk.
Yeah.
Like I remember I was downstairs at my parents' house. We were listening. I was like filing my nails, and just as I'm listening, and then suddenly he starts talking, and I stopped dead in my tracks. I was like, he's talking about depression. He's talking about me.
Yes, this was truly inspired.
It had to be, because I had this deep, dark secret that I'd been trying to like hide from the world for so long. And suddenly in 2013, he's like, hey, guess what? Mental illness is a real thing. And I was like, it was great. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the pros of this talk and some of the cons. So the first of the pro that he had was, it was so damn validating. Not just for me. I'm sure there were probably hundreds, if not thousands of people that were like,
huge.
Thank you. And the church has taken this and run with it. They've done lots of videos and follow-ups and things like that to say like, yes, it's a real thing.
Because prior to that, you were just told,
no, read your scriptures.
Yeah. And if you don't feel like this, something's wrong with you.
Something's wrong with you. So it was like it was groundbreaking because it was so validating.
Yeah.
It was awesome. So he said in the talk, broken minds can be healed just the way I'm getting emotional here. Broken minds can be healed just the way broken bones and broken hearts are healed. So it was huge because mental illness was not seen as sin anymore.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Like you wouldn't see a broken bone. It's like you broke your bone. You better read your scripture. You messed up.
Right. It was not Satan. The second thing he says was he did encourage you to go seek professional help. So a quote he said here is, if you had appendicitis, God would expect you to seek a priesthood blessing and get the best medical care possible. Right. So he destigmatized in one talk, destigmatized therapy and medication. This was huge. Right. He had a tone of empathy and hope. He talked about his own. And like you mentioned before, he was like a young father struggling. And I'm sure most young fathers are struggling that way too. So that must have given them, even though they may not have had the degree of depression as some other people.
Right.
I think it validated everyone.
Yeah, it did.
Right?
It was received so well.
And then 4, it opened the door for more conversations. So a lot of people have since talked and we've had several, I don't know how long you were in the church afterward, but we'd have Relief Society lessons about it. We would talk about it in our Sunday school classes.
People felt comfortable opening up about it and finally and saying, I do suffer with depression. And thanks to, President Holland or Elder Holland, I can feel comfortable sharing this with you now. And so
that's so great.
It was amazing.
It was beautiful. There are some cons about the talk, though. Number 1 being that there was zero accountability for past teachings.
Right.
Like we talk about the whole gaslighting.
Every time. I know.
The gaslighting is like
they never accept their responsibility. And
No.
It's kind of strange because it would behoove them. They would be doing themselves a favor. Like, when has anyone ever said to you, in any instance, you know what, I'm so sorry, I was wrong about this, and I instantly, when I hear that, if I'm defensive, I put my defense down.
Exactly.
If I'm in an argument or something
Absolutely.
with someone and we're like this, and they go, all right, you know what, I'm so sorry, let me take a step back. That was
Exactly.
wrong. If I'm like this, if I keep going like that, I feel like a jerk. So then I go, oh,
Yeah.
okay,
exactly. It's
so it would behoove them to be able to accept any responsibility at any point. And from what I've seen, I haven't seen that ever happen.
Yeah.
if they were to come back and say, we're sorry, we messed up, then we would say, oh, so you were not directed by God then, so you're not directed by
They
God.
need a better PR person, because this is just a matter of spin. You just say, well, we misunderstood. We're human. There's lots of ways to get around.
Right.
That. They should hire me. Just joking. I would never work for
The
them.
part that's so interesting, though, is the acceptance. Because when you talk about the baptism thing that came out with Russell Nelson in 2015.
What is that?
Well, when he said that he had a revelation, God told him that if you have, if your parents are gay, you cannot be baptized, and you would have to denounce your parents, and you have to wait till you're 18. Then you'd have to denounce your parents before you could be baptized. Now, I didn't know. I wasn't aware.
What a piece of shit.
I know, but I wasn't aware that this had been.
Sorry, can I say that?
You can say that. You can say it sucks.
Not nice.
I didn't realize in the reorganized church at the time, before they became the Community of Christ Church, they were called, the reorganized church, that if they were a member of the reorganized church, but then wanted to be baptized into the Mormon church, they would also have to denounce their parents and stuff. So I didn't know that, but that came out because a lot of people in the reorganized church were like, duh, this has been going on for years, but now you're all upset, but regardless. Anyway, so that came out in 2015. People left the church in droves.
They were all out.
I mean, there was mass resignations.
John DeLynn left that year.
Because
he was excommunicated.
Oh, he was excommunicated.
He was excommunicated. But, so then amazingly in 2018, 3 years later, he had another revelation, and we did this because, we went to the Lord crying because we felt so bad for these little kids that weren't able to be baptized. And we preached, please, God, let us baptize these kids. And God said, all right, fine. I guess I screwed up. No problem. And people believe it. People supported.
I did. Oh, I totally did.
100%.
I remember reading the article.
Yeah. And they were happy.
And that explains it. You know, I remember that.
It's like now.
That's one of the things that like really ticks me off because it's so clearly these guys sitting around going, we're making less money. We're losing membership. We have less power. What are we talking? What's wrong? We care about these kids that we clearly did not give a fuck about.
It's a corporation. It's done in a group setting. It's a decision. But it's the same thing with the new thing where now they're saying, if you get married in a civil ceremony, you can immediately you can drive immediately from the courthouse and go to the temple and get sealed.
You had to wait a year.
Where before you had to wait a year. This new revelation is because, there were so many people who were hurt that they couldn't attend their daughter's wedding. Like, bull crap. It's because people in Europe have always had to have a civil ceremony before they could go to the temple. This has always been the way it was in every place else in the world except for America. And now you're baptizing people only in Africa, nowhere else in the world. That's not true, but you know what I'm saying? But so they have to change the rules to accommodate society.
Yeah.
But they're claiming that it was a revelation and people accept it. That's the part that just blows my mind. But that's that weird psychological obedience.
That's
derangement.
From day one to obey, never question. And when you question, that's
and
the
it's
devil.
a survival skill.
Right? Yeah, and when that ticks in,
yeah,
the devil's taking hold, so you better shut that down right away. And I cannot.
Even though families were destroyed, mothers never spoke to their daughters again. I didn't get to see my only daughter's wedding. So Jeffrey Holland's talk was a breakthrough for sure. But they never came out and said,
sorry for the damage.
Sorry that we called it a devil. Yeah.
Never did the accountability. And he's still framed within worthiness and endurance. It did not, even though it was like, this is a thing, but still
slip it in. Yeah.
You got to endure to the end. You got to make sure you whiten up.
Do the best. Cling to your covenant. Do the best you can, cling to your covenants, and always keep trying, which reinforces guilt. For those who are too sick to keep trying, it perpetuates the idea that your value is in how well you suffer. And I love that you put that down because it's so true.
Yeah, it really is. It is.
Hold to the rod till you get to the end. Yeah.
And then it just didn't acknowledge that systemic church harm of perfectionism, of scrupulosity, of obedience over autonomy.
I never say that word.
Scrupulosity.
I cannot say it.
I've said it a bunch.
Yeah.
About like the stigma around sex and doubt and medication and all of those things. Though the talk was groundbreaking, and I'm so grateful it happened.
Yes.
It was so helpful for me. It still just didn't do it. And then it also reinforced that God's your healer.
Yeah.
God's your healer.
In the end, it will be God that will heal you.
Well, and I can see how if they renounced all of that, a lot of those things are their tactics. That's how they keep a lot of people.
Yes.
And I will make the comparison with the church that I grew up in.
Yeah.
I mentioned it's Episcopalian. I left when I was 14. There was no one came after me. No one said, "What the hell are you doing? You're gonna ruin your life."
You didn't have to get a lawyer to leave.
Yeah. No one even talked to me about it. I just stopped going.
Yeah.
I didn't hear a damn thing about it ever again.
Nobody cared.
No one cared.
Yeah.
And I had a really great priest that I remained friends with. I've talked about Father Bob, who has since passed away, but and was a sweet, wonderful guy. There was and that is the difference, I think, between something that is a cult and something that is a religion. And I know some people say all religions are cults, and I don't think that's necessarily true. All religions are kind of weird, but from my perspective as a not religious person, having grown up religious, but their tactic, of course they can't renounce it because their tactic is to tell you that you need the church. You cannot function without it. You cannot leave.
Yes.
And anything that leads you out of it is going to cause you depression and whatever bad things that are going to happen. They have cult tactics, and they have to stop using their cult tactics and rely on something else to keep people in the church. And I will also say, but I have a lot of friends, as I'm thinking about it right now, who've stayed in the Episcopal Church as adults. Probably the majority of the people that I went to church with are still in it. They still love it, and they don't stay because they're fearful or they're told they're going to, be evil and go off a cliff. They stay because they do derive actual joy from it.
Yes.
And community.
Yeah. And but that's not the Mormon Church's tactic. The Mormon Church's tactic is it's cult tactics.
It
so
really
they can't
is.
let
Well,
go of
and
that.
it's
It
really
really is.
interesting when you listen to a lot of people that are really just into spirituality. And as humans, we seem to need spirituality in some form, and we need rituals. And so that gets confusing for people that don't know how to do it without being told
Yeah.
what to do. And it was funny because I listened to a podcast the other day. Eric Weinstein is just this fabulous mathematician. He's so brilliant. And he said, I'm an atheist. You should come over to my house and we'll pray sometime. The guy said, you pray and you're an atheist? He goes, yeah, it's a ritual. He said, you need ritual. All humans need rituals.
Can I just say, so I also pray, and I am agnostic, leaning atheist,
Yeah.
and I consider myself spiritual. And we're
Yeah.
going to do a whole bunch of episodes about
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
The praying thing in particular is interesting to me because it is about ritual, and I don't like get on my knees.
Yes,
but I
right.
pray in my own certain
Yes.
way. I give thought to other people. So we watched Heretic
Yeah.
months ago, and I actually
Oh.
just rewatched it this weekend. My dad and his
Oh.
partner were visiting, and they had not seen it, so I wanted to see it
Oh.
with them.
Mhm.
And the end, I had the same impact the two times I see it. At the very end, and I'm spoiler alert, I'm going to tell the end, but a little bit of the end of the
Yeah.
movie. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, at the very end, he chides her and is sort of making fun of her and says, "Why don't you pray?" After he's stabbed her in the stomach, and
Yeah.
she's hit him at that point too. And she looks at him and she says, she claps back as she develops herself throughout the movie. She says, "I read the studies about prayer." You think she's going to launch into this like why prayer works, and she says, "I know it doesn't work. I know it doesn't work, and it's going to make me tear up to think about it." She said, "It's just nice to think about somebody else. I think that is a good thing."
Yeah.
And it hit me both times. And I watched it just like,
Yeah.
because there is something profound about
Right,
prayer. And
right.
you can say a prayer without saying it to God. You
Right.
can be to your God,
Right.
but I am for all intents and purposes, an atheist. And I pray because I care about people. So I
Yeah.
sit and I think about them and hope for positive outcomes or that they're okay. I pray for
Yes.
you. Like when you are struggling, I send you
Yeah.
goodness. And I know people like they feel that. And especially if on Facebook for all things, like
Yes.
someone's like, send me prayers and I give them a heart just because
Yeah.
when you feel like shit and someone
Yeah.
says, "Hey, I'm thinking about you."
Yeah.
Yes.
Means the
It
world.
means so
Yes.
much. And to me,
Yes.
that is what prayer is. And I love the idea. And I haven't heard anyone else like
Yeah.
say exactly what you said. Like
Yeah.
this atheist who's like, "Come pray with me."
Yeah.
Because I would say that too. Come
Yeah.
pray with me. And
Yeah.
it's a different thing,
Mhm.
but it's just about being altruistic or
Right.
empathetic or thinking outside
What
yourself.
can I
That's all
do
prayer is.
to help and serve other people? That's what humanity is all about.
Right.
Yes.
Is
Humanity.
what can I do? Even if I am thinking about you or, that kind of stuff, it's not about me today. I'm going to be doing what I can do for you. It would be nice if you did something else besides thinking prayer.
Yes,
We'll
you
pray
have to
for you.
do
It's like,
things
could
too.
you also feed the people?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take
make
your
sure-
Yeah.
hundreds of billions of
That's
dollars
right.
and put some of that
That's right.
into
Yeah.
solving
Exactly.
the problem.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think we've had a really awesome conversation today.
Yeah.
We really
Yeah.
have. Moving forward, this is how it's going to work.
So listen up.
Listen up.
This is how it's gonna go. Just joking.
You may want to pray about this. Yeah.
Get on your knees, say a
That's
little
right.
prayer. Just joking.
Yeah.
So also part of my mental health journey is also my spiritual journey. Because for a very long time after leaving the church, I was angry. And a lot of people who leave the church go through this. And how could you not, learning that you've been lied to your whole life, that you've been deceived, and a lot of the challenges you went through could have been remedied by not being part of this.
Right.
I'm ready to be done with my anger. I know you've reached that phase as well, Renee.
Exactly.
And I think in order to do that, I kind of need to remove myself from situations and conversations where we just focus on just the negative. It's on focusing on the positive. And so my goal is to heal spiritually and mentally and in all of the ways, and to be a little bit more of a bridge builder. Because in my content and in this podcast as well, we can't say it enough. We're not critical of the people. It's not that we love the Mormon people.
Right.
We do have to have boundaries with them, but that doesn't mean that we can't love them for who they are. I want to be more of a bridge builder. And that would have to mean that I need to remove myself from conversations where I feel like I'm being too critical. Do you know what I mean? So in future episodes, if it's something where we want to see Erica's feisty side, and because it's been so fun, we love Erica's spice, and there's not a lot of room for this kind of conversation, Renee's going to step in. And she's going to be the co-host. But if it's something where I can come in and even do a little bit of pushback by like, wow, Mormon community is kick-ass.
Right.
And this is a way that we can build bridges with this community. That's where I want to come in and have a place. So we're going to have a place for both. Renee and I are going to tag team it.
Yeah.
And Erica's
give you a hug. Yeah, I feel left out.
But Erica's always going to be here to be our favorite NeverMo.
Yes.
And I think in some instances, and we can cut this if we need to.
Yeah.
I think we might have episodes with the three of us as well, because I do like this perspective. And there might be times where we just all sit down and chat together when you feel good and you're available and we can do that. I think that would be, that'd be really great too. Because I love this.
I do too.
This energy here.
Me too.
I do too.
There's so much for women, especially. We need each other. Women need other women. And so much of the healing that comes is just women being able to get together, complain, just express their grievances, talk about the crappy things that happen to them, and they feel so much better.
Yeah.
Just getting it out. And women need that so much. And the whole idea, and I want to emphasize this because I've heard this before, your husband should not be your best friend.
Right.
Women need other women. And there's a place for everything. My husband is, because my husband is still a believing member. And when I start talking, he clicks off right away. So I need to have other women that I can complain to. And
you can always complain
talk
to us.
about girl stuff. Because, he just goes click, and we all need to talk about perimenopause, or whatever, or crazy kids, or body image stuff. And that's where we need other women. So that's what I love about this, for sure.
Well, and we could also use a man. I mean, I wouldn't.
Well, there's a place. They do have a place.
I'm gonna wingman her. We're going at it.
She's never so you. Stay tuned next week for Kate's dating stories.
I am gonna have a date this week, so we'll see.
Ooh,
I know.
Yeah, that's a whole episode right there.
Next week we're gonna do Kate's
and those of us that are still married are like, tell us more.
Yeah.
I'll be like, you who I went on a date with, off right now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I can't imagine.
Well, it's been so fun meeting you in person, Renee, and having you here. And I feel like so much
you
better.
stepped out of the TikTok and I'm like, a real person.
A real person.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel so much better.
I'm so glad.
I do.
I'm so glad. So many people love you and want you to be well. And we're really glad.
Exactly.
Thank you. And I wish that same thing for everyone.
And you did, by the way. She was a speaker at Sunstone last year. You did a fabulous
Did you
job.
come to that?
I was there for a little bit.
Oh.
I had a booth outside, so I was
You did?
running in and out of talks, and then I would. But
No way! I didn't know that about you.
So I thought that was just great that you.
Yeah.
And you had a pretty good audience too.
I think I did.
Pretty filled
in
through.
hindsight, I'd go back.
kick-ass.
Yeah.
I do it different. We're not. We're thinking of going to Sunstone this year.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I
we can
know.
see
I
that.
can't go. I'm going to be in
Driving-
Sturgis this year during
Sturgis.
Sunstone.
Oh.
Yeah, riding my motorcycle.
Good for you.
You're so kick ass.
So my goal is not to die.
Don't do
That's
that.
the only goal I have that time is do not die. Yeah.
But I would love to bring Erica to Sunstone to see like all
You
these
would
people.
love Sunstone.
You really would.
The diversity is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's on the
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we might maybe we'll do it. We'll talk.
Thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. It's been such a delight having Renee here with us and being here at Land of a Thousand Hills. We're so thankful to them for letting us come.
We love having you as a co-host.
Oh, thank you so much.
A guest a few weeks ago and now a co-host.
And this is an absolute honor. And it is because I do a lot of my podcasts. I'm by myself.
Yeah.
So I love being with you guys.
Yeah.
It's
We
just
love
been
having you.
fabulous.
We do too.
It's
Yeah.
so great.
We do too.
So, and if you have liked it as much as we have liked it, if you could give us a subscribe anywhere you subscribe to your podcast, a like, a share is so helpful. We would love to get the word out. We feel really passionate about what we're doing and our messaging. So if you could share, like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do.
let us know in a review. That'll help push that out to other people. And we would really love to get that out. If you want to follow us on our social media, you can follow me. I'm Midlife ExMo on TikTok and on YouTube and on Instagram. How about you, Erica?
And I'm Americana. So that's IMERIKANA on TikTok. So you can follow me there.
Mhm.
Lots of fun content never Mormon content, that kind of a thing.
And Renee?
And I am I am in way too many places, I have discovered. On Instagram, most of my content is under @GoGrayDame. I also have a She Became Visible, but for some reason I keep going back to the other one. And then on TikTok, it is also GoGrayDame. And on YouTube, it is She Became Visible 513.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's been a delight watching you do your
Thank
things.
you.
And it's so fun that we've been here together. So again, thank you for being here. And until next time, everybody, cheers to deconstructing Mormonism.